Before we start, we want to thank TV for partnering up with Everyone's Average for Black History Month. Before we start, we're going to show you a little video. So that was your cue video, man. Go ahead. By Marcus Troy and Naskademini, identical twins who grew up in the exact same circumstances and blossomed into two completely distinct individuals. One has built a reputable name for himself in the photography industry, and the other has become a renowned cultural tastemaker and lifestyle expert. Together they've built Espace Gris, a photo studio, or a studio, which has become a hub for creatives in the Montreal area. And the panel will be hosted by moi, Freddy, Lloyd. This should be really easy since we've spoken many times for many hours. So let's start. We've had the chance to sit down on the pod in your studio, and I realized that it all started at home for you guys. You often speak about your father, your mother also, but more precisely your father. And to me, everything starts at early education. What did he instill, or what did they instill in you during your childhood that helped you develop this mindset that you guys have? Marcus.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It's such a beautiful thing to see so many people that are interested in hearing us speak, but also being part of what's happening right now, because it's like, I had no idea this was happening on my show, so I'm really excited. It's so cool. Our father, I would say that he was really, he's still alive, so I'm going to talk in past tense, but he always gave us game. Giving us game meant like knowing the plays of the world, how does the world work? And he put a real focus on education. And obviously he wanted us to become doctors and lawyers, West Indian parents.
That's not only a Haitian thing?
No, West Indian parents across the board. But he told us one thing that I think changed the course of my life, which was no matter what you want to be, just be the best at it. So if you want to be a garbage man, be the best garbage man. If you want to be a lawyer, be the best lawyer. If you want to be a gangster or a drug dealer, be the best at it. And my mom would be like, what are you saying? However, it was more about the principle of being the best at what you can do and not seeing the impossible, not having a ceiling, which I didn't recognize that was so powerful because I never saw any obstacles. I never saw them, they were invisible to me. So we're talking about abundance today, we're talking about mindset. For me, that changed the course of my life because I tried everything. And he said as a father, his job was to give us the best tools to be the best that we can do. And I think that's what kind of changed it for me.
Yeah, I would agree with the same thing. Be the best at whatever you put your mind to. And even though it sounds cliche, the things our parents tell us are always cliche, but they often do work, right? So that focus allowed us to kind of live our truth and also do what we want to do. So me being in the creative space, even though my parents secretly wanted us to be lawyers or doctors, they embraced and were proud of whatever we did in the space because we were the best at it, right? So we were allowed to grow in a household that allowed us to be what you wanted to be. So creative photographer, whatever it is, there was no pressure to really be anything else.
And one thing that's important, you said they allow you to become whatever you want to become. I think we spoke about it earlier in another panel, that's a problem with a lot of older generations in the Black communities. They don't allow their kids to get into other fields, but doctors and lawyers and accountants.
And that's the scarcity mindset, right? Like, everything starts at home, the charity begins at home, how you see the world begins at home. Your parents teach you, or your guardians teach you the first things you're gonna learn out into the space. And I don't think that we realize as people that we're shaping young minds. And if you allow your children to see the impossible as being possible, then you're setting them up on a path to success whether you know it or not. And I think because our parents and older generations have been through so much trauma and so much issues, they want the safest path for us to take. So it's like get a job at the hospital, get your benefits, move up the ladder, and just stay there comfortable. And I think that mindset, as much as it works for some people, it doesn't work for a lot of different people.
And what does the abundance mindset mean to you guys?
It means, like Marcus said, to always be thinking about possibility, and also staying focused on a path that allows you to think outside the box. A lot of people oftentimes take Montreal as an obstacle, not realizing that Montreal's not an obstacle. The way we live in Montreal, the cost of living, the quality of life we have here, actually allows us to think a lot more freely than our American counterparts. But even though we're sitting here, we're like, I want to be in the States. You don't have to be in the States. I mean, free healthcare right off the bat allows us just to be like, worry-free. I have friends in New York who are photographers who are saying that they're struggling in New York. And I'm like, dude, if I was in New York, it would be a whole different game. And they're living in the city where we quote unquote want to be, and they're still having the same struggles. So it realizes that it's built in the mind first. And once you change the paradigm and have that shift within yourself, you're then able to traverse any obstacle that's put in front of you. So that's the abundance mindset in my mind.
In preparing for this conversation, I was talking with a few friends of mine, who my brother likes to call them genius level talent. So people who are just thinkers, like people like, we surround ourselves with thinkers that are outside of our current circle, and we have conversations. And I was talking with a friend named Ian, and we were sharing like what we thought the abundance mindset was, and he sent me this document. It's not a document, but it's a little text I want to share with you guys. And this describes like my worldview on abundance. Pardon? Oh, it's all good. So there's 4 points to abundance: the scarcity mindset or the abundance mindset. So it's point of view, physical energy, emotional energy, and mental energy. So the scarcity mindset is you're a victim, a bully, or simply checked out. When it comes to physical energy, you contracted body, you're tense, your shoulders are clenched, you're short of breath. Emotional energy is draining energy in the room, in your interactions, feeling frustrated, impatient, anxious, afraid, angry, overwhelmed, powerless, giving power over to groupthink or pressure. And on the mental energy, the scarcity mindset is confused, disorganized, narrow in your thinking, only focusing on what's not working, typical thought patterns that have no choice. The abundance mindset, like to counteract those points, is you're in the driver's seat. I think that's super important. You're relaxed, you're alert, you're expansive, your posture, you're rooted in balanced presence, you're breathing deeply, evenly. You feel empowered, engaged, you're positive, you like working on something bigger than yourself, you're energized, you inspire others, you're excited about challenges and growth. Feeling of clarity, the ability to perceive multiple angles, listening actively, notice what others are not seeing, flexible, adaptable. Typical thought pattern is I always have a choice. If I were to notice something new, what would it be? Creative agency, non-judgmental, and a beginner's mind. And I think that overall, like that kind of sums up how I see the abundance mindset of having a beginner's mind where you're always looking at new possibilities and seeing how things are done differently. I often reference that I see the world in 3D. Some see it in 1D, some see it in 2D. I like to see the world in 3D, all different angles. And I think this is what I believe the abundance mindset is.
And what happens if ever you can't, there's one of those dimensions you can't see? What do you do?
I seek help from others.
Okay.
You know, I think we often feel that we have all the answers, that we know best. But there are people in this room right now who can help me unlock some keys. People that can help you unlock some keys. And I think we have to not be afraid of having conversations, breaking down the barriers that they were talking about previous on other panels, breaking out these invisible barriers that keeps us limited in how we see the world. A person once asked me a long time ago, they said, Marcus, if I were to ask you right now to forget everything you've ever learned and to know that everything you ever learned was a lie, would you be willing to start over? And I think about that. And the question today is yes. Sure. But I'm willing to accept that everything I've ever been taught was a lie. And my mind is flexible enough to want to start over. And I think that is how you get to a place of abundance, because you're not paralyzed by old ways of thinking, if that makes any sense at all.
Makes a lot of sense. Before we move on to the second question, I just want to let you guys know how we came up with the subject or the line of questions. We all sat down and then threw ideas at each other. And one of them was that people always think that there's a path to making it, or there's a way. And as I'm writing the questions, I thought about you guys are identical twins with completely different passions, completely different, just completely different talents also. How as
He's better looking than I am, though. That's a fact.
Alright. I'll let you guys be the judge of that one. Being that you're so different.
Are we good looking, though? I don't know, it's arguable, but I'm just saying that, like, I feel like you're a good-looking man.
Someone wants to do an IQ poll or something? Being that you're identical twins, how did you become so different with the same upbringing and the exact same path up to a certain point?
So as twins, our mother would always dress us alike, which was pouring juice. She would make sure that the juice was poured equally. And if he had more, I'd be like, he had more than that. And my father would come in and say, you know, you have to give it an individual space. So he was a proponent of making sure we didn't dress alike. And he would say, life is not fair. So if I have more juice, don't equalize the glasses because life is not fair. And I think my dad was a strong influence in making sure that we grew our own personalities. We've met twins who, you know, still live together in their adult years. They dress alike the same, and they have never grown out of that and create like a codependence.
Yeah.
I think our father allowed us room to breathe, and that was really important. So if any of you guys have twins out here, you're about to have twins, the lesson I would give is like raise them as individuals, so that they're not like so symbiotic to the point that they can't live without each other or without their space. So I think that pushed us into our own direction.
And I asked the question because you're both successful in your own field, and a lot of people feel like you have to emulate other people to be successful. What does that say about people that feel that way, that you have to emulate? Well, not about them, but about the mental.
I'll just say to that real quickly is that success leaves clues. So when you see someone that's successful, it's important to follow those clues and to kind of try to follow that path. So it's a good thing to actually do that, but there's obviously context to that. So
I mean, I get what you're saying, because I think a lot of people, they think that the path is like 1 + 1 = 2. Like they would hit us up sometimes and say, how do I be you? Like no one person can be another person. I think the better question is, how did you overcome these obstacles? How did you react in this scenario, this situation? I think it's great to follow people that have laid the path for success, because there's clues there.
Yeah. And
success does leave clues. If you were to mimic your life after a successful person, say you did the right investments that they did, you got into real estate as opposed to getting into sneakers, maybe you would have more money in your bank account today. You get what I'm saying? Like but don't get me wrong, some people got into sneakers and made a fortune. Your parents tell you don't play video games, but right now there's video gamers who are making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can create your own blueprint. I'm all for creating your own blueprint. I think that it comes back to how you think. If you don't see the obstacles, you're able to navigate the world differently than everyone else. We often say, oh, that person tried and they failed. If Obama, for example, took the lesson that there's never been a black president, he wouldn't have become president, right?
Sure.
And it takes the one person to do it first, 100%. But the obstacles usually start in our minds. Like I can't explain it, like I can't articulate it so much that we are our own enemy. And we think it's everyone else. But it starts in our heads. And if the minute you're able to shift the paradigm, repair your imagination, you're able to see that there's a whole world out there that allows you to become different than what you think or thought you were going to be. Does that make any sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Speaking of blueprint, Hope said, put me anywhere on God's green earth, I should put my worth. Originally, the name of this panel was called How to Make It in Montreal. You guys want to tell the crowd why we decided to just do it as How to Make It in ...
Because Montreal's a mindset, and if you could think outside the box and not let your geolocation determine how much success you're going to have, you're 2 steps ahead of the game. Like I gave you an example before about people in New York who are struggling, people in LA, and we thought that it was limiting to say to everyone here to how to make it in Montreal, because all of our aspirations should be bigger than Montreal. Marcus likes to say that even though we're Montrealers, he looks at himself as a global citizen, and that kind of speaks to how we've approached our work. That if you make work or create work that's undeniable, you'll be accepted and cherished, internationally, and not just focused on your geolocation. And if the minute you have your geolocation determine how far you're going to get, you're never going to make it. Now, I do understand that if you're an actor and you are in LA, obviously it's easier to go to auditions, it's easier to be in these situations, but there's a movie scene in Montreal here as well, you know what I mean? So it's just letting yourself know that where you are is not necessarily where you end up.
And I want to be very clear. My opinion is that the world wants to work with the best. And wherever the best is, they will find you if you are truly the genuine article, you're the best. And I say that to say this, that we've been fortunate enough to travel the world and work with a lot of amazing brands, a lot of amazing people. And this is not a thing to show off or to brag, but it's something that I recognize that why I'm saying what I'm saying. Are you guys familiar with who J. Cole is? Okay. So you guys are familiar with the Dreamville? So my brother Naska shot the last album cover for Dreamville. Okay? For those who don't know, for those who do know.
Yes, we clap.
I say all that to say this, that the creative director for that project, in his mind, he wanted to work with the best. That's what his mindset was. So if Naska was living in Italy in some remote location, he would have picked him because in his mind, Naska was the best. I'm not saying he's the best photographer in the world. I'm saying the guy who's deciding who he wants to work with the best. So he's gonna fly and go wherever he needs to go to be around the best. And the same goes for you guys. If you guys work on the work and you work at being the best at what you do, people are gonna find you no matter where you are located in the world. And this is why I think that when he says Montreal is a mindset, don't feel like you're handicapped, sorry for that word if it offends anyone, because you live in Montreal. And a small little story I'll tell about that is that we went to LA a couple months ago, and we were sitting out with a friend of ours. He has a brand called Carrots. You guys know that brand, Carrots? No? Okay, so it's a streetwear brand, really famous streetwear brand. One of his best friends is Tyler, the creator, okay? And he was telling us a story of how he used to watch us online and be so amazed that we were doing all these great things with these brands. And he was like, man, it must be because they're from Canada. And he lives in LA, the backyard of where magic happens. And he's like, it's because they're Canadian, that's why, man. They're killing because they're Canadian. And I'm like, dude, are you nuts? Like, if we were living in LA, we would be Jay-Z and Beyonce. like, because of the access. Our mindset
Who's Beyonce in this?
but I'm just saying to prove a point that like, what you say, yeah. So like, it brought us into a place where I felt like they're looking at us from a fishbowl, thinking like, you guys are killing it. You're Canadian. That's why. Yeah. And we're like, no, man.
Canadians are doing the opposite. We're watching LA like, oh my God, only I was in LA. How amazing I would be. Yeah. But if your mind is not ready to be in LA or to have the work be undeniable, when you get to LA, you're just paying rent either way. You're paying more rent. You're not necessarily, progressing in what you're trying to do because your mind wasn't fixed. And if you look at hip hop as an example, Wiz Khalifa, when he came out with Black and Yellow, that's the song that kind of put him over the top. But he was putting on for Pittsburgh way before we knew who he was. Like his city supported him because his songs were undeniable before he became a household name, right? So if you can't make it in your own backyard or get the city to rally around you in your own backyard, how's LA gonna rally behind you? I mean, your work at some point has to be undeniable for it to be what it needs to be anywhere you go.
And to add to that, how to make it, it's how do you make it, period. That needs to be the goal. How do you make it, period? And your geographic location should not impede on your progress in this world. There are people right now in this audience who are doing great things and who touch people globally. I met a girl yesterday at our gallery space. She lives in Montreal, she's from Belgium, but she's working with Versace because she does good work. And she lives in Montreal, she's working with Versace, that's super dope, right? So I just feel that we have to uplift our minds to a place where we feel that it's open to receive the abundance.
And sorry, but I also want to add that also making it all depends on what you qualify as making it. Is it financial? Is it just the fact that your work is recognized? Is it the fact that you're actually creating work at a level that satisfies you? So also think about that as well. Like, what does making it actually mean? Like, people would be like, "Oh man, you guys made it." I say I didn't make it yet. I'm still writing my story. You know, I've done great things. I'm humbled by the things that I've done. I'm sure he is as well. But making it is just a state of mind. And in the work that I do and what I do now, I'm happy. I'm joyful. I'm inspiring others. So to me, that's making it in a part as well. It's not just my finances. It's really like people enjoy what I do. People like to come and have discussions on my work, and people want to work with me. That's a sense of also making it.
Before you guys like blew up on social media, in the social media world, you guys were already busy blogging,
Too busy.
photography, whatever. Were people as open to the idea that you were Canadian, or is this a new thing?
To be quite frank, no one in Canada knew that I was Canadian. For one. Everyone thought I was from New York. Like, "You're from New York, yo, come by me." I'm like, "Dude, I'm in Montreal." Brands and companies in Canada were not hip to the game. I was working with American brands first. They embraced me. Like, "This guy's dope, we're flying you out, let's do some stuff." The Canadian brands were like, what do you guys do? They were not interested. Like, I got featured in the New York Times before the Gazette. They were not, and when I go to brands in Canada, be like, "Let's do some work," to be like, "What do you do?" "We're not down." Only now, not only now, maybe the past 5 years, they've embraced us like, "They're our guys." Like, I had a good relationship with Nike USA. You know, Nike would send us free shoes and gear, all that good stuff. And it was cool.
I see where this is going.
No, I'm saying it was cool, right? It was cool.
It's not showing off, it's inspirational purposes only.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, Nike stopped sending me product because the Canadians were like, "He's our guy." I'm like, "You guys don't send me anything good." Like, no disrespect to anyone that was from Nike, I'm just saying that it wasn't the same level of love, same budget, same nothing. It took them a long time to embrace it. So I think that in the States and other parts of the world, they had a mindset of like, digital influence, social is the new wave, we're on it. It takes a lot longer to happen here, but I think that is changing. That it's changing. Like, I see it changing. Like, Miro and I talk all the time about there's a new wave, a new vibe, something that's happening something in the water, and it's changing. I think we're going to be a force to reckon with in the next 5 to 10 years.
I'm gonna get to social media, but I just wanted to mention it's funny because I never knew you had a twin. We used to like connect online or whatnot. I never knew you had a twin until Instagram came along, and then I was like, "Yo, I just get to so
People still don't think I have a twin for sure.
I was always behind the scenes. Like, I was never like someone. I think Instagram is what catapulted me to the forefront of stuff. But I was always comfortable behind the lens and never like look at me and influence. Look at my outfit today. No dissing to the people that do outfits. And not that you know. But when the whole, blogging, Instagram stuff came about, I had no interest. If he's like, "Hey, I'm going to the Junos, you want to come?" I'm like, "Nope." See, I'm going to MTV Awards, you want to come? I'm like, "Nope." I never wanted to be that guy. Like, I'm a bit of an introvert, and I was kind of like, "Yeah, I'm cool with myself. I was born with somebody. I don't always want to be with somebody, right?" Yeah, it was never a thing. But I think social media kind of forces everybody to like work on their personal brand and their aesthetic and create like. So we'll still go places, or I would travel solo, and people would grab me and be like, "Marcus." I'm like, No, I'm his twin. They're like, "What do you mean you're his twin?" I'm like, I'm his twin. He's like, "Stop lying." I'm like, "No." I gotta go through my phone and try to find pictures of us together, which I don't have. and trying to prove to somebody that I'm not a twin. Even in our building, in our studio, the other day someone was like, asked my landlord, they were like, why does that handsome black guy always change his hair? And then my landlord's like, no, you're twins. She's like, get out of here. Like, nobody really knows that we're twins sometimes. And when you're a twin, you take it for granted. You don't tell them what you meet. Oh, by the way, I'm a twin. So if you meet somebody that looks like me, that ignores you, we don't do that, right? So we just live our lives, and then people end up being like, oh shit, you're a twin. And that's what happens.
And sometimes I'll have conversations with people, I don't know them from anywhere in the world, and I'm just being polite. And they met him before, and I'm like,
And now you know.
So that's kind of what it is.
So, do you guys feel like there's a different way to move for Black entrepreneurs or creatives online or on social media?
1,000%.
Tell us about it.
I mean, you are what you tweet. You have to be very mindful of the social footprint that you leave. I think people, because they have small audiences, they feel like I can say and do whatever I want. Like my boss not looking, I can talk to my coworker, I can say whatever I want online, but the internet is a funny place because nothing gets erased. And you've seen how people have lost jobs, lost contracts, who have lost opportunities because they're talking reckless online. And if you are a Black person online, you have to watch yourself even 10 times as hard. Because any excuse that people could use against you, they will use it against you. This is why information is so important. And the difference between us and a lot of people, or people who are successful, is information. The lack of information allows us to fail without even knowing why we're failing. And if we become masters of information, or at information, I think that we can navigate the world so much better as a Black person online and in the real world. So we should be information gatherers instead of just like online just talking reckless. Be mindful, like cursing. Like we don't curse online. Like you never drop an F-bomb or an N-word online. We don't do that because people are watching, brands are watching. You know what I mean? You wouldn't see us rolling up. I don't do drugs, but like seeing us rolling up weed online, money on like that. These are things that even though everyone else seems to be doing it, I think that as people we have to be more mindful of the energy we put out to the world and notice that like you putting up weed online today might affect, even though it's legal, might affect your opportunity next year. There's people I've met 10 years ago that are giving me opportunities today. It took 10 years of building relationships to get to a point where they can put a check in my pocket. But that's 10 years of integrity. You get what I'm saying?
Your brand changed, bro.
100% the brand did change, but I think that we have to be more mindful and purposeful in all the moves that we make. Social media is not a joke. It's not just like, oh, social media, it's whatever. Let me diss Beyonce today because I feel like it. Like, it's not like, for me, I think that there is a code of conduct that we have to adopt to navigate this new Wild West.
Especially when opportunities for Black creatives is limited as right out the gate. So the fact that there's not a lot of space for us to actually take up, your social media footprint is really important to be moving with integrity at all times. Memes are funny, but I keep all my memes in group chats. I don't put my memes or things that make me laugh or things that make me, insulting to others on my personal feed, on my stories, because, whether you have, like you said a great point about no matter the size of your audience, eventually it's going to grow, right? So you don't want to be somebody who spoke reckless with 200 followers and then you end up to 100,000 and now you're pulling up your old tweets about you, being disparaging to a particular group or something. And people never think about that. Look at Snow Allegra and all these people who said, things before, like the N-word, et cetera, before they were popping, and now they have to be like, oh, it was a mistake, I was hacked. So if you protect yourself, but if you protect yourself from day one with the one person that's following you, you can then know that you're always moving with integrity, and kind of like who you are online should not be, who you are online should be reflective of who you are in person. Ask yourself, would the rest of the world like the real you or the online you, right? And that should almost coincide. My brother and I, we've been real online since day one. We've never, quote unquote, faked or put on a show. And to be honest, whatever we put online is really to motivate and inspire people. We grew up in LaSalle, in the Heights, and who would have thought that two kids from the Heights would be able to be on the stage today talking to a group full of people looking for inspiration and answers, right? So we just came into the game with a certain level of information that allows us to say, you know what, if we're gonna go online, let's make sure our footprint is clean from day one. And everyone, if your footprint's not clean, go back, start deleting, and start rebuilding yourself. You can
Look how they killed Kevin Hart, right? Like, Kevin Hart was about to host the Oscars, the biggest honor a comedian. There's probably 4 other black comedians ever done it before. And someone decided to just like, maybe search whatever and found his old tweets about his son, jokes, whatever you want to call it. And he had to pull out and drop out. Like, it killed his momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, he did say what he said. What he said is perceived to be wrong by a lot of people, but it kills momentum. Like, it's not a joke, but he didn't think that the Kevin Hart of 2019 was the same Kevin Hart as 2014, 2011, whatever he said those things.
Whatever he meant, things will always translate well online.
It doesn't translate well online. So I think that, like my brother said, if you guys are able to go back and like search words and just put words you might have said and clean it up. Like, I went back into my accounts and anything about Trump, I took it off.
Yeah.
We travel out to the States. I'm like, I don't want to get to the border. Like, 2008, you said, I'm like, I put Trump, my name, and I erase everything bad about Trump because I don't want that. I can't risk going to the border and getting that smoke at the border. Like,
That smoke.
you know, it's real. You know what I'm saying? It's real. You know, so yeah.
We spoke a lot about balance also within yourself, balancing work, balancing a bunch of things within yourself to make sure that you can actually, because without it you can't become successful. Remember that conversation we had? So you guys, Nask, you want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, balance in everything you do is important. And I would say that, like, for me, my balance is keeping my personal life off of social media, right? Just so that when you want to move away from what we're all used to now, you have like a personal refuge you can kind of like go back to and not being like in lights online. For others, it could be meditation. For others, it could be different things. But I think it's to always be mindful of how much you share. You guys saw what happened to Pop Smoke, and just the fact that it may have been the fact that he had his. For those who don't know, there's an artist in LA who was a 20-year-old artist. He was killed a couple days ago in his home in LA. He's from New York, but you know the rumors have it that his address was kind of flashed online, and by himself. And that's kind of like, even though you might want to show your crib or show your home or show whatever it is, at the end of the day, if you keep that separation of your personal life versus your online life, I think, you know, it creates a better balance that you kind of stay safe in what you do. And just stay like a mental space. Like, mental health is really important, and being in a not always having to put on online. I remember I was at Water Market a couple years ago, and I bumped into an influencer. And she was like panicking. She's like, I gotta go home and shoot this. And I'm like, it's Saturday, it's the evening, like, why are you so pressed? But the game had kind of like, the lines were blurred. There was no more my Instagram life and my personal life. She was kind of like stressed on a Saturday evening when the sun was out about having to go make a post, and it was eating her up inside because she was losing daylight or whatever. But my point was, you know, if you take it easy and realize that, you know, as a creative, you can set the terms, you can dictate, you know, how you live your life on social media. And don't let brands dictate for you, right? So have that balance of taking care of yourself, and don't go through stresses and having to lose your mind online because things are not going well for you. You know what I mean? Like, that balance kind of keeps us all safe and sane.
Marcus, what's yours?
My balance comes from my belief in God and meditation. These are two things I try to read the Word, and I try to meditate, and like my brother said, keep my personal life off of social media. I mean, I share a lot. Welcome to no episodes. For those that know, it's an inside joke. But I try to keep my personal life off social media because I want to have something that's real and unique and that's special to me, that's not in the public view. You know what I'm saying? And I think that prayer and meditation has been things that have helped me to cope with the crazy world that we live in and doing things at my own pace, if that makes any sense.
No. Makes a lot of sense. While preparing for the panel, we spoke about online gurus. And a lot of them tell us that we should demand things, leave our jobs, be more aggressive. But you said something, Naska, I think it was you that said it, that that's not necessarily for us as Black people. Yeah, it doesn't always work for us, or that method isn't always for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about, a lot of people love Gary Vee, and I was saying that the advice that Gary Vee gives speaks to the culture that he's from. We necessarily can't just, quit your job and just knock on the door and be like, give me an opportunity, right? Because of the color of our skin, like, we have so many other barriers, and not that we should take being Black as a constant barrier, but it is a barrier in society, right? So I was saying that you gotta listen to people within your culture that have spoken to their successes. Gary Vee's great, but he doesn't speak to us. He came from a wealthy family, he had $1 million startup from a wine business, to be able to just not have a job and talk online all day and influence others, right? So
I like it, but when he downplays that $1 million, it kind of like...
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, my parents had no money to give us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We started our own businesses and our companies, self-funding on our own, and we don't have that backing, right? To just say, I'm gonna quit my job today and sell baseball cards. Like, you can't really do that, right? It's not feasible for everyone. So I would say that online gurus are good, but you gotta be able to speak to people or listen to people that come from a similar background, culture, experience when you're getting your advice. And the same goes for therapy. If you want to see a therapist, if you get somebody outside of your culture, they may not be able to figure out because we have a lot of trauma and a lot of, like he was saying before on the panel, that we have a lot of healing to do, right? So if you're speaking to someone who discounts, your heritage and everything you've been through, it's hard to kind of, open up to them, right?
Understand it.
We can't understand it, right? Like I tell people, I'm like, I love Uber, man. It's so hard for me to get a cab in New York. And my friends up until 2019 are still telling me, come on, it's just in the movies. I'm like, no, I can't get a cab in New York, right? And you don't believe these experiences that you're living that are just simple as getting a cab. So imagine everything else that we deal with, Black women who can't get treatment at hospitals because the doctors just think they're trying to get free meds, right? You don't even take it seriously. These are all things that happen. So you have to be mindful where you get your information from when people are trying to tell you, quit your job and just, live life and be demanding and be more aggressive. So I think that the messenger is as important as the message.
I just want to add as well that I realized that some people are meant to have jobs. Some people, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone's meant to be a leader or running their own agency. It's aspirational for sure, but you have to also know who you are as a person. Some people want to be led. Right? That's real. Not everyone, not everyone's gonna be Malcolm X. Some people have to listen to Malcolm X and just follow what he's saying as an example. And I feel that we often feel disrespected, or we feel that we're losing out if we don't become the man or the woman. We feel that we have to be at the forefront. But some people, I used to work with this girl. She was, and I'm not trying to minimize her capabilities, but she was an amazing assistant to the boss I used to work for.
Yeah.
She was amazing at what she did, her mind, how she was organized. But she didn't want the pressure of running the company, but she could run it because she knew it inside and out. But she was comfortable, she knew herself that she was comfortable being an assistant. That's who she wanted to be. And people might look at her like, oh, you can be more, you're so smart. It's not what she wanted. So I think it's about being honest with yourself. And if you want to be the man or the woman, if you want to be the leader, if you want to be the head honcho, then go for it, make it happen. But it's not for everyone.
But even going for it isn't for everyone. Going to become the leader of whatever you want to become, that's not for everyone either.
It's not, and I often say that everyone wants $1 million, but not everyone's willing to work for the $1 million, right? The idea of having $1 million is special. Oh, I wish I had that money, but what are you willing to do for the $1 million? To get it, right? Some people have this drive to want to go and make things happen. My company, my personal company is called Myth Media. It stands for Make It Happen. It's a constant reminder for me to always want to make it happen. So people that know me in any scenario, I'm always trying to make it happen, trying to figure out the angles and trying to figure out how I can make it happen. For some people, that process is just too much to handle. They just think, oh, no, they said no, it's not gonna happen. Like I said, I don't see the barrier, so for me it's let's find a way around it. Let's try to make it happen. So, but it's not for everyone. The ideas of wanting to be rich and successful and famous sound good. I once thought I wanted to be a rapper. But I don't want to be running around stage.
You got a 16?
No, I don't have 16 right now, but I'm saying this, but like the idea of being Drake, like Drake does 62 shows a year. You know how tired I'd be? I'd be like, I gotta go to sleep right now. Like there's fans outside waiting for you. Like to be Drake is not just like, oh, he raps. Or like Mobb Deep came here back in the day and Nas, and they were like drunk in their hotel room drinking. They didn't want to come perform. The Knicks lost or something, and it was and they didn't want to come perform, right? And 50 doesn't drink or smoke. He has the energy, the stamina to perform.
Yeah.
Like to be a performer on stage and have that energy for 2 hours, entertaining, it's a lot of work. So you want to be a famous rapper, but are you willing to do what it takes to be in the gym, working out, not doing the things you're saying because you need to actually be able to perform? And you see when rappers come out and they're not in shape and they're running out of breath and it's tired, you see all the time.
Yeah.
Like the idea of success is a great idea, but are you willing to do what it takes to get to that level? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And before we end, I want your personal definition of success.
Success, my new definition of success is being comfortable in your own skin and being happy and loving what you do. No amount of, listen man, for some of you guys know, I spent a lot of time working with some NBA players. And a lot of you guys have a lot of money, like millions of dollars. Like this one player that I work with, he plays basketball professionally. He gets paid millions of dollars to play basketball. Cheap time champion, all that good stuff.
Sure.
He'd rather play golf. He wants to be a golfer. Like if he can trade it all in just to play golf all day, that's what he would do. But his job is basketball, right? His job is basketball. He's like, man, I want to be like money. Like we often think that success is money, but success is also a mindset of are you happy doing what you're doing? And if you can find happiness in what you do, then you're successful. I'm not rich personally, but I'm super successful because I'm happy. Every day I get to go to work in our space, in our studio. If you guys haven't been, please visit us. And we get to work on creative projects with people, and we love what we do. And maybe the people that work for us are like, man, I can't wait to get rich and get out of here. Maybe so. But for the most part, the people that are part of our team, they're happy and love being in this environment. Of course, we all need money to survive and to make moves and to buy new things and all that good stuff. But success, in my opinion, is just being happy and loving what you do.
I would say the same thing. Success to me is just being comfortable in your own skin, and hopefully, whatever that is, it's paying your bills and allows you to eat and have a place to sleep at night. But being proud of what you do, that's what success is to me. And it's kind of like, it's success is a mindset. You know what I mean? So if you're comfortable and you're happy in doing what you're doing, and each day you wake up thinking you have a new opportunity to kind of like be a better person each day, that's success to me. And I think I'm successful in the same right, that every day I wake up, I always want more. There's things that I want, and there's things that I want to achieve, but the fact that I'm breathing and I'm able to do what I love and impact others, that's enough to get me through the next day. And I keep rinsing and repeating until, everyone around me has seen the vision and others have seen the vision and want more and better for themselves as well. And that's when I would know I'm totally successful, when I see our peer group, I see our culture, I see our brothers and sisters doing what they want to do. Marcus does this thing where he has people call him from around the world to kind of, get things off their chest. And he gets so many calls from like doctors and lawyers who are unhappy being doctors and lawyers because they want to be creative. They want to be photographers, they want to be, influencers, but they were forced to go into a path that their parents wanted to live. And they're unhappy as adults making good money because they're not doing what they want to do. And so imagine being a doctor and not being happy because all you really want to do is take pictures all day, right? So for me, I think it's based on how you feel in what you're doing for yourself and not for others.
Sounds good. crowd who has the mic. Mic is down there. It'll be her and then Sir right here.
And the questions can be in French as well. Je parle français très bien. And I'm learning Creole, so ça passe dans my Asian French here.
Attention.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for this show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. I have a question because you talk about, by the way, your path is amazing. You talk about happiness, you talk about joy, but one of the major, I think, roadblocks is a mental, right? And to stop the mental, you have to keep in the present time, okay? So my question is, to be creative, how do you stop the mental to let the creativity out? You know, where does the creativity come from? From the mental or from the soul?
Creativity to me comes from the heart.
Okay.
People often ask me, you know, how long you been taking pictures and how long you been creating, and I said all my life. And they're like, all your life? I'm like, yeah, because for me, every image or every photo or every creation I create has been like a reference point from everything I've ever experienced, love, loss, everything. So I think within all of us, you have to go deeper. You have to go into your heart to figure out what is it you want to put out. I mean, I talk to a lot of artists, a lot of rappers from Montreal, and a lot of times they're rapping about what our American friends are rapping about. And I say to them, I'm like, you're not getting me in the heart. I don't feel Montreal in your raps. You're not rapping about things that we can relate to. You're not going deeper. You know, you're not speaking about things that kind of goes and ça pige aux émotions de ta réalité. Tu comprends? So I think that, yes, if you go into your heart, you know, I think the creativity will come in and flow through your mind, and then you'll be able to put it on paper. So I think that we all have mental roadblocks, but listen to your heart first, and then allow yourself to slowly unblock, you know, the passages in your mind to be able to be that creative person.
But when you're successful, okay, and you have all this information coming to you, I don't think you to be overwhelmed. Sometimes I think it's easy too. So how do you keep grounded?
So the difference between, I don't know who your family is, but having a twin brother kind of gives me a level of groundedness that I think I maybe often take for granted. But having somebody that is like the same age as you, the same, you know, upbringing to kind of bounce ideas off of.
Like your mirror.
Yeah, we kind of get like that. For me, I get to like, you know, or run ideas by him and go, what do you think about this? Just surround yourself with people who are like-minded, but who are also smarter than you. Because steel sharpens steel, right? So you always have to be in a surrounding of people who can teach you something. If you're always leading your crew, there's a problem there, right? So you want to find people around you who can also help sharpen your skill up.
Thank you.
We talked about abundance and how it starts with the mindset and gathering information. My question to you as creatives, I consider myself a creative. I have support. I love the city where I'm from. I feel like we're all collaborating together, and we have this drive to make things happen, and we do make things happen. But I feel like there's a lack of sharing of information or mentorship. And I guess that would be my question to you. Where, as young creatives or people that are trying to make it in, can go from making things happen to that abundance where we can break barriers and succeed, I guess?
We've been a huge component of sharing information, and people think that we're crazy about this. Like we share what you should charge for this, we should charge for that, who's doing what. A lot of people don't like to share information because they feel like they become at disadvantage. So we have to become better sharers, guys. We have to become more open and more transparent and create the network. Because, for example, if you go work with L'Oreal and you know that, actually, I'll tell you a better story. Do I have time? Okay. Okay, I won't get into too much details, right? But just to put in perspective for you, I went to this company, they were having this party in, let's say, Hong Kong, right? And they hired this DJ, this white DJ, to DJ the party. They paid that DJ, this famous DJ, $200,000 to DJ this party, okay? For 1 hour, okay? They did the same party in another city. They hired a black DJ, and he's famous as well. And they paid him $40,000, okay? Was it 20? You get the point, okay? It was a big difference in margin, right? Because lack of information. As creatives, we need to be able to say, hey man, what are you charging for this? How much should you charge for this? Some people in this room have asked me, what is you charge for this? How to get a bigger bag? And I give them the information. We're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Transparent and confident in our abilities to do work, that we're not afraid that if you get a bigger bag than me, then we all win. Every door that you kick down, every door that you kick down makes it easy for the next person. But we've been taught from maybe childhood not to share, to keep it to ourselves. Like, I don't want to give information. We need to become information gatherers. And if people are asking sharers, and don't be afraid, like, as creatives, man, we need to create a mafia system where we know if we go to a brand and they want to work with you, you come to the council and you're like, what do we charge? and then you don't do it for less than what I'm going to do it for. But what happens is that everyone wants the job, so we undercut. Oh, you're $500? I'll do it for $3. You know what I'm saying? And
Auction. Reverse auction.
Yeah, we have to stop that. So we created that hub. Like, people who know us personally, they come to us, and we encourage everyone here. Not that we're trying to get more followers, but talk to us, follow us, hit us up, ask us questions. And for those who've done that, we've shared the keys to success working with brands because no one did it for us. And we learned on our own, right?
Just to add, the more that you help people like us who have an innate passion to help others, the more we can help others, right? So it goes as far as sharing the content that your friends are promoting or sponsored posts. Encourage. Sometimes we know somebody will say, "Hey, so and so." They'll be like, people will be more willing to like a Beyonce post than to like somebody local doing something great, right? So it's kind of like share, activate on every single things that we're all doing, so that when brands and outside people with the money look in, we're all popping, right? But we have to get into that mindset where we're not afraid to encourage each other's on the small things. You put up a picture, hey, I'm talking in a panel, 4 likes. You put up a picture with Beyonce, 1,000 likes. You know what I'm saying? And it has to be like, no, encourage every little thing that we do so that we're all winning, and when we all get to the top, we can all look down and create our own, ecosystem where we're keeping the money within the community and the creativity within the community. And I think that's what my brother and I try to profess every time we can, and we try to push that propaganda as far as we can, and people that do know us would attest to that. That's really important to us, and that's also part of our brand. Help one, and as you climb, pull as well, right? So you reach down as you're climbing, so other people can honestly, we can talk for hours on this, but like, guys, we decide.
No, we can't.
But the last point is that we decide. We decide. Like, if we wanted to, we can start with one person at the end, make her famous and rich, then next person. We can do it. Like a susu, like a susu girl. We can decide tomorrow, hey guys, Ashley and Miro, we want to become a number agency. Let's put them for a month. And then we do it for him. Like, we decide. Don't think that people, don't wait until we get embraced by other people and be like, oh, okay, they're cool now. We decide. So if we can elevate anyone in this room We can make any brand here successful. We can make anybody here famous. We decide. So don't think that the work is for other people to do. We decide. So this is the mentality that we have to. Sorry, I'm passionate about this. This is the mentality that we have to adopt immediately. In order, like this guy is doing like walks and talks about our heritage. His class or whatever should be full tomorrow. Show the strength. You know? Joe here running. We should all. I mean, I don't like to run, but we should all be running with him tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like we decide. Like we can make anybody here successful. We can put them on a pedestal, and we can elevate anyone here if we want to. But it starts with how we think and how we see the world. So, no.
People follow you or come see you or talk to you or, as you were saying.
I mean, you can follow me anywhere in the world, Marcus Troy. Yeah, that's my handle on everything, Marcus Troy.
And you can follow me at Naskademini on Instagram, Twitter. I don't believe that's on Facebook. I have a Facebook. You can look me up on Facebook. And my website as well.
LinkedIn?
But I don't do LinkedIn right now.
I do LinkedIn, everything.
But those of you who may know of us, and if you see us anywhere, come talk to us. We're really down to earth. We're very open. We're willing to share. Some of you would send me a DM saying, I saw you today. I didn't want to say anything. Don't be shy. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's build. Let's create so the next generation doesn't have to work as hard as we had to create what we have right now.